Welcome to This Week in Morgan County. I'm your host, Russell Mokhiber. Our guest this week is Bill Lands. Bill is the author most recently of Recipe Repairs, How to Do It, and Why We Need It. Bill, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Russell.
What are we trying to repair here?
Recipes and food habits. And the whole message in Recipe Repairs is that you can change, make small changes that can increase your likelihood of a healthy life.
What's wrong with our recipes?
A lot of recipes have too many calories per serving, per meal, and so we're having trouble balancing the caloric intake with the caloric expenditure.
Let's say me and you were just sitting here. How many calories are we burning?
That's a real good question. A lot of people don't think about it that way, and they should. So you get a gold star for that. We're probably burning about 80 calories an hour.
And is that throughout the day, 24 hours a day?
Well, of course, if we get up and run up and down the stairs, we can get up to 100, 200 calories per hour. But we don't normally run up and down the stairs very many minutes of the day.
And this is key to your equation, and that is caloric intake and caloric expenditure.
Yeah. Basically, if you eat 2,000 calories and you only expend 1,500 calories, your body accumulates those extra calories as fat. And that's the beginning of a problem, because the fat predisposes you to a whole series of other chronic disorders that it'd be nice to avoid. So the idea is try to burn all the calories that you eat, and once in a while even try to burn more calories than you eat.
You want to make people healthier. That's the goal of this.
I want them to make themselves healthier. I can't do it. And so I can give them information. And the point of the book, and I've said, anybody in Morgan County that wants a free booklet on how to shift their food choices and wants to understand why they should do it, they can get the book from the Morgan Messenger or the library or the West Virginia University Extension. And
or just
I just want people
get
to
in touch
learn.
with you and you'll get them a copy.
Well, no, I don't
Or get in touch
deliver.
with me or I'll get them a
That's
copy.
right, you can do it. Okay. I don't deliver them, but they can get them if they want them. And the whole point of the book is it was designed for 21st century, so it's an e-book. So you put it onto your desktop, and when you have a few spare moments, you go to the desktop and you start reading page 2 and page 3, and there's hyperlinks to the internet, and there's dozens and dozens of added hyperlinks that tell you more than you ever wanted to know.
But fundamentally, this comes down to, burn more calories than you take in and eat good food.
And good food has a balance of omega-3s and omega-6s. And what people fail to pay attention to is the careful balance. And if you're a little out of balance, then month by month, year by year, undesirable things can happen. And so if you want to reduce the risk of that, you try to balance the omega-3s and 6s, try to balance the calories in and out.
Okay. Now you're here in Morgan County, but you're a world-renowned expert on the omega-3, omega-6 balance. And those are both highly unsaturated fatty acids.
That's right.
One's a good one and one's a not so good one, is your point of view.
Yeah,
You
they're
say,
both essential.
They're both essential, but we want more 3 and less 6.
Because we don't have it. I mean, if we already have more 3, then we don't have to keep going forever and ever, but you want to have it balanced out. So you have both 3 and 6 in equal amounts.
And you say that there are some cultures that have a better balance than we do.
Right.
The Inuits, the Mediterraneans, and the Japanese have a better balance than we do. We have a bad balance
Yeah,
overall.
There's a lot of people that do. In fact, the traditional food habit of Central and Western Africa has a good balance in the foods they eat. And then when African Americans were brought to America and they were living for hundreds of years in America, the American food habits pushed their Hufa balance away from what their original African American diet actually had. The base of the diet, an African American diet, is greens. And if you eat a lot of greens and veggies, you've got a good diet. You like to cite Michael Pollan. And I've heard you do it.
Not too much, mostly plants.
Eat not too much. There's the calorie message. And then mostly plants is foliage and greens and beans. And if you do that, you're pretty well there. And then what didn't get said was balance the omega-3 and the omega-6. And the whole point of my thing on repair is giving people the information on the balance so they can see, oops, this is throwing us out of balance, and so let's get out of our food chain the foods that are pushing us out of balance, and seafood is the great way to bring it back into balance.
And you've said the word HUFA, H-U-F-A. That stands for highly unsaturated fatty acids.
Yeah,
and you're talking about the balance between 3 and 6. How did the American diet get so out of whack?
Not by anybody's intent necessarily, but just by accident. And if you go back to 1780, and we have a new nation here, and colonial cooking, there was a lot of food that we don't eat anymore. We eat processed foods. The 20th century brought us processing and transporting it from Chile and Peru and South America. And so we don't have seasonal foods like we used to. When I was a kid, 1933, we could only have strawberries in June. That was it. And during the Second World War, people learned about freezing foods, and after the Second War, households all had their own home freezers, and you could buy frozen strawberries, and you could have strawberries, fresh frozen strawberries, any 12 months of the year. You could have them for Christmas. That was a wonderful thing. Now we're so much in the habit of just eating food from the store that our diet is no longer traditional colonial diet anymore.
Right. But I mean, we can also get canned fish year-round also, which
You
is
can.
a good thing.
Yeah, it's a
And
good
so it's
thing.
not really about what's available. It's about our choices.
Right, and one of the things is that processed foods are made and sold, and they're convenient because they put all the stuff all together in there, and you just warm it and eat it.
But even it's not just about processed foods either, because arguably canned fish is processed.
Okay, no, it's
We're talking about choices. We're talking about instead
Yes.
of the French fries, go for the canned sardines.
right.
Is that what you're saying? Correct? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, you've heard enough that you've got the idea.
All right, let's talk about fish. What are the top fish if you want to increase your omega-3s?
All fish are eating omega-3 rich foods, unless they're in a farm where the farmer controls what they eat. So fish from the wild are then going to be eating a lot of omega-3 rich algae, and they eat smaller fish that have a lot of omega-3. So tuna, salmon, herring, sardine. Sardines are herrings. Anchovies are, so anchovies, sardines, herring,
Smell.
all of those are good. Shrimp and crab, they have omega-3s. They don't have nearly as much as tuna and salmon and herring and mackerel and so on. But you're right, you can buy canned seafood. And if you do, and it's part of your family's lifestyle, you'll have a better hoofa balance than the people that don't do that. And so when people say, what's the simplest way to start balancing, is say start eating seafood.
Your advice then is exercise, burn more calories than you take in,
Once in a while.
and increase and rebalance your hoofa balance.
That's it, rebalance. And so people say, well, how do I do it? And you say, well, you need the information. So the booklet lets you get at the information. The internet links in the book will give you thousands of food balance scores, and you can look at it. Remember, it's 3 minus 6. So if there's more 6 than 3, you got a negative number right there. That's already telling you your risk.
How would you know? How do you know what your hoofa balance is?
You can have a blood test, or you can estimate it from the food you eat, which is the easier thing to do. So if you eat a lot of plus foods, like seafood and spinach and broccoli and cauliflower and turnips and greens and beans, you'll have a better hoofa balance, something more balanced and not negative.
If you are out of shape but have a good hoofa balance, are you less likely to have cardiovascular disease?
Well, let's go, if you're out of shape and you now have two different people that are equally out of shape, but one has a good balance, the other has a bad balance, you already know the one with the bad balance has a greater risk. But if you are out of shape, you're already at risk, because you're out of shape means you're borderline obesity, which means there's a whole set of food energy toxicity syndromes that go with being out of shape, including type 2 diabetes. It's just pandemic now in the United States. 50 years ago, type 2 diabetes wasn't that common. And now it's like everybody's got it.
What's the difference between type 1 and type 2?
Oh, type 1 is you can't make your own insulin enough. Type 2 is you're making insulin, but it's working against a load that it can't handle, and it's inefficient. Being out of shape is part of the inefficient insulin action, or the type 2 diabetes. There's a whole sort of metabolic syndrome phenomenon of things that people have as a result of caloric imbalance, and they're all preventable. That's the whole point of the booklet, is that you can prevent a bad healthy condition by learning to choose foods and lifestyle habits. But someone has to give you the information, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Is it about information?
It is.
The information, the information available to everybody in Morgan County on the web is overwhelming.
Yes, it is.
And the information on healthy lifestyles is overwhelming.
Yes.
Are you saying that Morgan Countyans don't know this information, don't have access to it, or are ignoring it? Which,
It's all of the above. in a community, you have all of that. You have some people that are familiar with healthy lifestyles, and they just don't bother other people. They live a healthy life and they get on with what they're doing. There's other people that really didn't know about the omega-3, omega-6 balance. And when they learn about it, they're free to make some choices. Information is really the key thing, and how you treat that information. They can say, yeah, I know, but I don't want to bother. Well, everyone's free to choose, but ignorance limits your choices, and I don't want Morgan County people to have limited choices.
Well, let's go to there is controversy about your theory, and again, you're world-renowned for the omega-3,
I spent
omega-6.
years studying it.
You're studying it. let's go to a headline in the New York Times last year. Omega-6s, this is the bad HUFA, in nuts, seeds, and vegetable oils may aid the heart, and it's reporting on a Finnish study that was done of thousands of people, and it said, yeah, omega-6 is not so bad.
Right, right.
And what's your take on that kind of study? And there have been a number of them saying, basically trying to debunk your theory on the HUFA balance.
Well, we don't even know if that's what they're doing, but because you have to look at it. If they talk about the HUFA balance, then we can see what the data are. But a headline is just a headline.
Reporting on this study.
Right.
And so there is this underlying study in a major peer-reviewed journal.
That's right. And it says it may help. Well, we already know they're essential, so there's no argument they're essential for life. So the question then is, what balance is healthier? And the headline doesn't go into that detail. And so now you have to decide, are you going to use the headline to control your personal decisions, or are you going to spend 40 years trying to learn all the nouns and verbs of the disease that they're talking about? And usually what you do is you turn to an expert and you ask them, how do I interpret this? And so you have to, case by case. I'm willing to sit and talk with anybody in Morgan County about what's in the booklet and help them interpret it. And the whole reason for all the internet links is because there's all those other stories out there that you need to go and see the actual data. And then what you find out over the years is that you go, wait a minute, the headline misleads the public.
Are Morgan Countyans more or less healthy than the average American? Do you have a sense?
Oh, Morgan County and West Virginia in general are less healthy than the average county in the United States.
And why is that?
Lack of information. So my role is to try to get more information out there. Something more than just a headline, because a headline doesn't give you the facts you need.
Have you seen transformation? You've been doing this for a number of years, being active in Morgan County on the question of diet and health. Have you seen transformation in specific people? Have you seen people who've learned this information and transformed their lives?
I have not enough examples of people transforming their life. And it would take a lot of invasive conversations for me to be able to say that. Some doctors might have longitudinal data on a patient over the last 20 years, but they're limited in what everyone just sees a little bit of the story.
One problem is the corporate culture that we live in.
And headlines.
And headlines, but people are inundated with information that propaganda, advertisement,
marketing
that works,
messages.
that undermines your message. It moves people in the other direction.
It can.
It's calories, it's sugar, it's fried foods, it's processed foods, it's sedentary lifestyle. Even though there's a lot of information on the other side, in terms of the, let's call it, you talk about the omega-3, omega-6 balance. This is the balance of information seems to be predominantly corporate marketing information over health information.
Sure. The people that make money selling something can invest that money into marketing, advertising. So capitalism works that way. The information flows from the people who can pay for the marketing. So I print these up and give them out free just because I believe the community can benefit from the information. And each page is just talking about a little bit of healthy lifestyle. We could have monthly seminars for the next 10 years that would help the whole Morgan County, but people don't have time to go to seminars. And then there's all the other distractions. They'd rather go somewhere else, do other things.
I mentioned this to you earlier, when we took the kids to the dentist would have a chart, and it would be on this side good teeth and on this side bad teeth. And at the end of the appointment, the dentist would say, I want you to move this way, not this way.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying
you want to nudge people in the right direction.
Well, because what I found out in the last 30 years, Morgan County has been teaching me that I have to keep giving a more simple message. Don't tell me everything about life, and don't tell me everything about, just tell me the most important thing. And so 10, 15 years ago, we put out a 40-page Morgan County menus, and we were trying to have people learn. It was too much. It was like drinking from a fire hose. And in fact, people don't like to have long conversations with me because I'll just give you so much information, you just don't want all that. So they say, well, Bill, just tell me the bottom line. And so this has gotten down to just 12 pages and just 2 issues. Balance the calories, balance the omegas. And I go, okay, folks, 50 years of medical school, molecular medicine research experience has gotten me down to just 2 simple messages. If I can get those across, nudging people a little bit, that's not bad.
How do you balance your diet? Give us some examples of your diet and what your weekly diet is like.
So 10 years ago, we had to get a simple message. And so we said, nix the 6 and eat the 3. That's a mantra. And so nix the 6 and eat the 3 means get out of your diet those things with big negative scores, negative balances that have more 6 than 3. 3 minus 6, that if it's negative, that means you got too much 6. So get the 6 out, that helps get a more positive number, and then eat more 3.
So you're at the supermarket, what are you buying?
Well, I bought jelly beans the other day, but they don't have either 3s or 6s, but they got calories. So now I need to go out and walk a little more for eating the Easter candy. But no, beans and greens and fruit and veggies and canned seafood. Those are the staples. But I also do a lot of cheese and dairy products. Cheese and dairy products have a good score, and they have calcium and phosphorus, because in the background, there's plenty of other essential nutrients that you need to eat. And it isn't all just seafood. But the seafood is a simplistic approach to eating less 6 and more 3.
And it's not just any seafood, just to reiterate the point we spoke about earlier.
Yeah, shrimp and crab are fine, but they don't carry the balance the way herring and tuna and mackerel and sardines and salmon, those are all good. They've got scores of plus 50 compared to shrimp, which is like plus 10.
And that's why in your booklet you report on the Inuit people. And the Inuit people, you say, have the best Hoofa balance score.
Well, they used to, but now they're eating Western foods and potato chips and salad dressings. And so nothing's fixed, but traditional Inuit food was rich. It had, their Hoofa balance was like 30% omega-6 and 70% omega-3, whereas West Virginia balance is 80% omega-6 and 20% omega-3. So it's just the teeter-totter is tipped way over. And the Japanese are in between, and everyone knows there's something good about the Mediterranean diet. Well, the good thing is the Mediterranean diet has a lot of greens and it has seafood. So we're just trying to have people see what the balance is and have them consider that it might be a good idea to nudge and move a little bit.
There was a report recently in the press about the hoof balance affecting asthma rates. Did you see this?
Yeah.
And what's your interpretation of that? Why would
Yeah.
increase better omega-3 diet help in asthma?
Balancing the hoofa means that you're balancing the 3s and 6s that are resident in your body. Why is that important? Because the 3s and 6s, the hoofa, form hormones. And now, boom, a whole new story. We opened up a whole thing. Hormones, what are hormones doing? Oh, they're causing things like asthma and arthritis and Alzheimer's. In chronic inflammatory disorders, we're taking medications to decrease the impact of omega-6 hormones that are tipping the health condition in an undesirable way. If you watch the TV ads on some of these things, they're saying, oh, this reduces the leukotrienes in your lungs. And you go, wow, what's that? Well, leukotriene's an omega-6 hormone that you made from the omega-6 hoofa. So there's a long story of why it's a good idea to reduce the omega-6 hoofa. And the way you reduce them is you push them aside with the omega-3s. And the omega-3s, they make hormones too, but they're not so potent and they don't amplify as vigorously. And that's why there's some not so good ones and some more good ones, the 6 and the 3.
Just to summarize here, there's two balances we're talking about.
Yeah,
One is the caloric intake versus caloric expenditure
Right.
balance. We want to burn more than we take in. That's
Now
pretty
and then.
simple.
yeah, try.
Try. Or at least burn what we take in.
Yeah,
Hopefully more. The other is we want to boost the omega-3s and decrease the omega-6s.
that's right.
That means fishes, greens, and beans, less fried food, processed food to decrease the omega-6.
Less salad dressings. Just get rid of the salad dressings.
Unless it's olive oil and vinegar.
Unless it's a what?
Olive oil and vinegar.
Well, olive oil is not going to get you out of the problem because it's got omega-6s, doesn't have any omega-3s to speak of.
Why do they say olive oil is better for you than
They're marketing it. That's why they do.
So I can't have olive oil? Is that what you're saying?
You can have it in moderation, but
I have excessive amounts of olive oil.
well, maybe you shouldn't.
All right, but getting back to the point. Those two balances, this booklet is about those two balances.
Yeah, it's reduced all the molecular medicine to 2 lifestyle things that you can do. And it tries to help you do it with apps that can let you play with your numbers.
And you can do this online. And if Morgan Countyans took this to heart, we would all be better off.
Right, and if they want to ask me questions of how to interpret it, I'm glad to sit and talk to them about it. But you have to know that the essential nutrients form hormones which are driving a whole bunch of physiology, and some of it is moving to pathophysiology, and that's not a good idea.
Okay. And this is available at the Morgan Messenger, the Morgan County Library, and the Morgan County Extension Service.
Yep.
And Bill, thank you so much for coming in again.
Stay healthy.
And thank you for watching This Week in Morgan County.